When you think about F1, you think about speed, you think about innovation, you think about efficiency. And these are exactly the ingredients we need to deliver in terms of sustainability.
F1 have been quite bold in their ambitions about being net zero by 2030. So that gives us a really strong target to work towards.
The motorsports industry is trying their best to demonstrate that actually they can reach net zero by 2030. At least we are on the journey.
Over its 70-year history, Formula One has pioneered numerous technologies and innovations both on and off the track. Its latest ambition is to become a global leader in the race against climate change.
The F1 sustainability strategy was set in 2019, and it has 3 key goals. The first is to be net zero by 2030. The second is to host more sustainable events. And the third is to ensure our sport is more diverse and inclusive.
It's a big task, and we are the only sport that is measured with numbers our objective, because it's not easy. It's a huge task, but we are not shy. We can talk about it with chin up because we are really committed to this objective, and this is very important for us.
Formula One is a global sport. With 10 teams, 20 drivers, and thousands of people involved, it also has a hefty carbon footprint. The race cars themselves account for less than 1% of total emissions. Almost 28% comes from travel by F1 employees and event partners. And a whopping 45% is generated by the logistics of getting the show on the road, be that by land, sea, or air. So just how does F1 plan on achieving its ambitious green targets?
When you look at the steps it takes to deliver across our sustainability strategy, it really is the change across every single role in F1. We are a number of years into our net zero by 2030 goal. What it means is we are looking to cut our emissions by a minimum of 50% based on our 2018 baseline. And the actions that it takes to do that is 1, converting to renewable energy in our factories and facilities, a change that has already happened across the F1 teams as well as in the F1 offices. The second is looking at our travel and logistics. And so how do we deliver differently in terms of reducing the kit that travels, reducing the distance that travels through calendar changes, as well as changing the mode of that travel.
It's a monumental challenge, and one that won't be achieved without the support from everyone involved.
The key about our net zero by 2030 commitment is it's not just F1, it's also bringing in our teams and our key suppliers. And so it's not just solutions that we can deliver, but how can we share those solutions with everyone in F1?
We all have to lean in, whether it's Formula One management, whether it's the regulator, whether it's the teams, our fans, our partners. And I think that's what's really special about what we actually have as an ecosystem, because if we all lean in together, we can bring in skills and expertise and experience from really unusual places, combine them and make a really big difference.
When we talk about sustainability, the focus on that side of the business is probably much more collaborative than we see in other areas. We know that there's a lot of issues and concerns that we can't tackle alone. They're either too big to do individually, so we have to have more kind of collective weight behind that. By pooling our resources, we can get to those goals much quicker.
There are critics that say getting F1 to net zero by 2030 isn't realistic, but those on the inside insist things have changed, and changed for the better.
I think a lot of people don't know what modern Formula One looks like today. They're the most thermal efficient engines in the world. We've been hybrid for almost a decade. We have some sustainable fuel element. And then also, there's not just the emissions, but there's safety. The safety of these race cars is amazing. That gets transferred to other transportation, our road cars, crash structures, things of that nature. And then also under sustainability, things like mental health and well-being. So I think sustainability has many different opportunities within that umbrella. umbrella, and I think we're doing an excellent job. Of course, we can do an even better job, and that's our goal, but I think a lot of it is also informing people about what we're doing, because people that aren't close to Formula One may rewind to what it was like in 1970 and 80 and not realize how much our sport has moved on since then.
If we look at motorsports, F1 in general, it's maybe not a natural partner with sustainability, but there's a much broader recognition now that that's got to change. Formula One's known for being a pinnacle of motorsport and engineering, and we've all got this common goal on sustainability, and the ambition there is no different, really.
And that common goal by everyone is something that F1 Group itself is spearheading.
From our side, it's going to promoters, going to races, and showing that actually business can be done in a different way. It can be powered by renewable energy wherever you are in the world. It can be looking at with stakeholders who are incredibly competitive and finding ways for them to not only work together, share best practice, but also show that within an F1 event or any event that you attend.
DHL has been the official logistics partner for Formula One for over 20 years. It's responsible for moving everything from race to race. And as the sport has grown, so has the logistics.
So DHL have committed €7 billion to reach a net zero target as a transport provider by 2050. We're investigating the increased use of SAF, which is sustainable aviation fuel, and we're using sustainable marine fuel. So there's a lot of introduction. We say there's easy wins and transitional wins. So they're kind of the easy wins that are easy to be changed. And then over the last 5-6 years, there's been a transition working with the teams to change the containers and the boxes and the shipping elements that we use so they can move away from less sustainable aircraft to a 777 model. And then there's a mindset change. People have done it a set way for a long time, so we have to have a bit of blue sky thinking to get that to be thought about differently and introduce new technologies.
Travel and logistics is a critical part of delivering our net zero by 2030 commitment. It's more than 2/3 of our carbon footprint as a world championship, and it's something that we look at in all ways of actually how do we do it. There's 3 key levers. There's the amount that travels, there's the distance that travels, and then there's the mode that travels.
And there's also when to travel.
Calendar is an important part of that, and we've seen those initial changes like Japan moving from the autumn, a really historical time in the calendar for that race, now into the spring and into the new year. So hopefully we can start a new tradition. We need to make those changes across the calendar, and we'll continue to do those. And that's in negotiation with our promoters, that's in negotiation with the weather, and also looking at when public holidays land.
So we know that as a global sport, we cannot get away from the fact that we have to transport our cars and our garage equipment and things around the world, and also that we have to transport people around the world. The other thing, of course, is we don't have control over the race calendar, where we go racing, how we go racing, but it's a conversation that we're having at the level of Formula One and with the regulator to look at what makes most sense from a carbon perspective. I think the other thing we have to recognize is sometimes there are trade-offs in this space. So what's good for moving things around might be not so great for the well-being of people. If you have people away from home for a long time, triple headers, they can be a bit of a challenge. So we're looking at it through those lenses.
In 2024, Formula One released a comprehensive update on its sustainability efforts for the very first time. Using data from the 2022 season, the Impact Report revealed a 13% reduction in the sport's carbon footprint against its 2018 baseline. It also found that over 75% of promoters used renewable energy sources to power different aspects of the event in 2023 compared to 50% in 2022.
So we work with all of our race promoters on how do we host more sustainable events. We're asking the same things of each promoter, looking at fan travel, looking at energy at events, looking at waste and recycling. And what we do with that is we don't say what the operational way that needs to be delivered. We say what outcome we want to have. We say we want to have your event powered by renewable energy. And you see that expressed in different ways across our promoters, whether you are in Bahrain looking at solar panels, whether you are in the Netherlands looking at the use of biofuels such as HVO, or you're in Silverstone looking at a mixture of all 3, on-site generation, green power grids, as well as biofuels in the generators.
Technology has also been a critical element in helping teams and promoters reach their goals, but it can sometimes be a fine balance between sustainability and performance.
Formula One has always been about cutting-edge technology, and I think that's an area we can help tackle sustainability through our technology development. Safety, I think, is critically important, and then, of course, there's performance.
So for us, it's an impossible choice to have to choose between sustainability and on-track performance. So we are absolutely committed to embedding sustainability into how we manufacture our car, into our practices. But we also know that at the pinnacle of sport and in a very competitive environment, we're not going to be able to do that with a massive deficit in performance. We have been looking for who we can work with to find more innovative materials to reduce the impact of our car, because that's such a significant part of our carbon footprint. So last year we ran recycled carbon fibre on our car at the Austin Grand Prix, and we were the first team to do that. It was a pioneering experiment. And what was fantastic was that we'd found a source of carbon fibre that was 90% less carbon intensive than standard carbon fibre, which is fantastic. And you could say that about other recycled carbon fibre. The difference with this one was it didn't affect on-track performance. In terms of its technical properties, it was pretty much as good as our standard carbon fibre. And one of the big challenges around sustainability that we've been finding within motorsport is this fear of having to compromise between sustainability and on-track performance.
Analyzing the data is also crucial to understanding where reductions can be made.
I take the analogy of, if you look at track performance, we've got thousands and thousands of data points all coming off the car that tell us exactly what's happening, and that's where we're finding all those small marginal gains to help the development. We want to take that approach and that thinking way and apply it to the buildings and infrastructure side of the campus as well. So once we know what's going on, we know what's happening, it finds it much easier to identify problem areas or areas where we can make significant savings.
You can't manage what you don't measure. So capturing data is a key element to make a sustainability strategy successful. We have installed at Silverstone lots of sub-meters to understand how much energy we are consuming, how much water we are consuming, understanding the peaks, understanding where we could potentially make reduction measures. We are inviting all our different suppliers to upload the data that help us in calculating our carbon footprint. And then if we are able, to create a good baseline, then we'll be able, to put a good reduction plan. So technology is key, innovation is key, sustainability and innovation is the perfect combination.
Formula One's commitment to ESG doesn't end with becoming net zero and hosting sustainable events. The company is also committed to ensuring the sport is more diverse and inclusive. In 2023, it launched the F1 Academy, a women-only racing series that was created to expand access and opportunity across the sport, from the drivers to the engineers and mechanics.
Women's sport is having a real moment. It has huge momentum. Formula One has never been as popular. Fastest growing fan demographic is the 18 to 24-year-old female. And I think also from within the paddock, a real feeling that we want to become more diverse as a sport, and that authenticity behind, let's say, the initiative, and this idea that we have this moment that could create huge impact in the future. I felt this is something I have to get involved in. We have 15 cars, 15 drivers, and one thing we're very proud of is for the first time in the history of the sport, the 10 Formula One teams have given their name and their liveries to something outside of the cars they build. So we have the 10 Formula One teams in Formula One Academy, which means we have a young Ferrari driver driving what looks like a miniature Ferrari Formula One car. And obviously to have the Formula One teams with us, to be racing on the Formula One weekends, that gives us a huge platform to really showcase what the possibilities are as a woman in this sport.
So will we ever see a female driver in Formula One?
I don't want to promise anything, but for sure the commitment is there. And we already see after 1.5 years of our engagement in that platform, the awareness at the lower level of karting is impressive. But not only at the driver level, because we want to see the woman world involved in our business in all the dimensions, engineers, team principal, mechanics, everything.